The Finger Lakes region of upstate New York is home to some of the best wineries in the entire United States, but it's also home to Watkins Glen International, a 3.4-mile road course that has been around for decades and decades. And Finian, this place is our home track. It's my favorite place to go to of all time, and we're here again tonight for the Triple Crown for the IndyCar Series for the 3WideRacing League.
Yeah, this is only round 2 of 3, so these guys don't have a lot left. Although the next round is double points at stake in Indianapolis, so a lot can change here. But here we're looking at the 15 Chad Frankenfield, our current points leader and current pole sitter at the moment.
Yeah, so we're qualifying now. 7 minutes remaining in qualifying here, Finian. Now, notable difference here tonight, we are not running the bus stop configuration, the classic configuration of the Watkins Glen boot course. We'll take a look at our track conditions here this evening. 78 degrees in the air, 106 on the racetrack, Finian. That's hot out here, very slick. The surface is not new, but it's not old either, so it's going to be a little bit of a weird grip mixture here, especially with those concrete patches in the corners. 11 turns around this racetrack. You see Frankenfield working his way onto the long back straight, prime overtaking opportunity, especially with the slipstream that these Indy cars produce.
Yeah, the slipstream, as well as there not being the bus stop, they can use the full length of that straightaway to make a pass into the carousel, and you can bet that a lot of drivers are going to do that.
Let's ride on board with the 83 of Johnny Thomas, and we'll go around for a lap here at Watkins Glen International. Down into turn 1, affectionately called the 90, up over the curb. You can use that. That's fair game out there. Up 110-foot climb to the top of the S's from the base of turn number 2. A right, left, right combination. Stay off the curbs up through here. Going to be going about 175 miles an hour onto the back straight.
Yeah, and the long back straight again without the bus stop too. It's elongated, so it's a very long ways down. You can notice too, if you look on board with the RPMs, he's almost reaching the rev limiter there. He reaches it at the end of the straightaway. So these guys are going to be tacking out in the draft behind one another. 14
degrees into the carousel, then down into the boot section in a hard left-hand corner. One of the trickiest to get right. It's a very weird braking zone. Then out to the exit curb, down to the toe of the boot. This is a very sharp elevation change here. The gravity is working with you and the brakes to get that car turned into the center of the corner. Watch that understeer on corner exit. See Thomas fighting there. Then rocket down the short chute, heading towards the heel.
Yeah, then once you head towards the heel of the boot, you got to set it up properly to get back onto the track. On the exit to the boot, and you see that Thomas is going to go wide here. That's going to invalidate his lap. He's going to have to get it going. This is one of the most difficult corners on the track, in my opinion.
Yeah, very flat, no camber here. You see the understeer going to be prevalent here tonight, even with the rubbered-in track conditions. Then off to NASCAR turn 6, or turn 10 in this configuration. Very fast, flat on warm tires. That's flat through there. And then back to the right-hander to the final corner. Wide curb on exit, but watch that tire barrier. They'll get you. And now we return to the front straight here at Watkins Glen.
These guys heading around in about a minute 25, minute 26 second lap times.
That's ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
The F1 record, I believe, is a 1:33 set back in 1983. So very significant fast speeds here for the Dallara IR18 IndyCar. Again, over 185, 190 miles an hour on the back straight. So about 4.5 minutes remaining in qualifying. Now the 15 of Frankenfield is on provisional pole right now, but Peter Short in the number 22, we always talk about him having skill at a myriad of racetracks, but Watkins Glen no exception today for that 22.
Yeah, we were talking about him. He's really close up there towards the front of the field, only 72 hundredths of a second behind Frankenfield as he comes out of the final turn. Is he going to beat the time? Let's see. There he is across the line, and doesn't look like it.
No improvement that time through for the 22 of Peter Short, so he'll stay P2. Tate Lytle in the 56, sitting in the 3rd spot. Nathan Velez is going to be 6th. That 48 car trying to improve on last week's performance. Again, Iowa last week, very, very high attrition rate. There was only a couple cars left running at the end, Finian. So I expect, it looks like we have just over 20 entries here tonight. I expect most of them to be running at the end of this, even though we have a 60-minute race. It's kind of a long way around here at Watkins Glen. You see Short go wide there out of the carousel down into the boot.
Yeah, from the looks of it, unless I was going to say, I think we have everyone from last week. I think, save for a few drivers. We had 21 last week. We have 21 this week as well. So, nearly everyone back on the track here.
Oh, you see Carlos Acosta. I was just about to mention he had a pretty good week last week. Finished, I believe, 3rd in that number 24 car. So that mows Dallara, trying to get himself back up into winning contention here this week. Levi Zielinski has had a miserable time so far on the dirt side of the Triple Crown events, and trying to get that 97 focus forward and maybe try to steal a win here at Watkins Glen International. This place is known as New York's Thunder Road, the superspeedway of road courses. It's very unique here, Finney. This racetrack was designed in the late 50s. It races very much like a European circuit of the time. Very, very fast. the safety here not really up to the standards of new, more modern F1 grade racetracks. So this place races like the old times, and a lot of people like it for that reason.
Yeah, I would say the current, not this particular version of Watkins Glen, but the newest actual version of Watkins Glen real life, that it has an FIA grade 2.
Yeah.
So it can hold everything pretty much but F1.
Yeah, well, it's disappointing, but someday we'll get there.
Yes.
I think this is where the problem is, down in the boot here. This is a very narrow section, no runoff to be had. So there is a couple modernization efforts with the repave of the track in 2016 that we don't have yet here within iRacing. We still have a lot of the grass and the gravel trap runoffs, but someday I keep begging iRacing every couple weeks to get on it, but no luck so far.
Yeah, let's say we got a new build tomorrow. That's gonna be...
hey, day to night. That's gonna be fun.
So this is actually gonna be one of the last races with the static daylight system that we have in it now. So. And
tomorrow, with the Fuel Rig Share Cup Series, will be at Atlanta. That'll be at evening to sunset. Late afternoon to sunset.
Unfortunately, iRacing didn't add night lighting to Atlanta or some of the other oval tracks, so yeah, that's the best we can do.
Yeah, but the race tomorrow will be, in fact, using that time progression. We will start in the late afternoon, head into the evening at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Fuel Rig Share Cup Series finals. So look forward to that tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time.
I don't think Thomas has some wing damage.
Yeah, Johnny Thomas
right front ring
has not really agreed with this track so far here tonight. Levi Zielinski jumped up to 4th on his qualifying lap, Phineas. That 97 has put himself in a good spot. Eisenman will round out your top 5. Oops, sorry, go ahead, Phineas.
And also, surprisingly, Tate Lytle in the 56 is up in 3rd, so he's having a fantastic day.
Well, here's the guy I want to keep an eye on, Phineas.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have enough time.
He should. He started his lap. He'll be able to finish it because of the qualifying.
Yeah, but it's close qualifying, so it's gonna kick him out.
Oh, maybe you're right.
So he's gonna. Looks like Groomer might be starting from the back.
Yeah.
He started the back yesterday, worked his way to the front. I don't think it's gonna be too successful this time.
Had a bad week at Iowa last week, so that 54 car needs a good result in this race to do well in the Triple Crown event. You mentioned it, Phineas. 35 seconds to complete it. Probably not going to happen. And I think he might have thought what I thought, where it just gives you a couple extra seconds to complete your lap, but he went wide there too, so that might have even been an off track. So we'll take a quick look at that and maybe get a better idea of if he actually went wide. It was pretty close, and it's going to be a hard angle to get a look at here, but let's see. And if half the car went over the exit curb, yeah, I think that would have been an off track there. So either way, Grunberg's lap, and he's completed his lap there, Finian, so. And by completed, I mean pulled off.
Yeah, so Grunberg going to be starting 17th, it seems. What Paul said is going to be Chad Frankenfield again this week. And that, actually, no, he wasn't pole. I don't think he was a pole sitter last week, but it was
started up front, for sure.
Yeah. Well, this was his pole sitter this week, last week's winner. So definitely the guy with the most pace, and Peter Short's going to be chasing him down from second.
All right, let's take a look at our starting lineup for tonight's race here at Watkins Glen International for the Triple Crown for IndyCar and 3WideRacing League. We'll have 1 hour. It's approximately 42 laps. Here is your starting grid on the front row: Chad Frankenfield and Peter Short, two guys that had really good weeks last week at Iowa and hoping to repeat here at the road course this week.
Yeah, then moving on back to row number 2, Tate Lytle with a great qualifying effort in 3rd place in the 56, and outside of him in 4th will be Levi Zielinski in the 97.
Trying to rebound a little bit from some rough runs the first couple weeks. Drew Eisenman, Jordan Teal in the 77 and 33. They'll be starting in the 3rd row. Eisenman on the inside, Teal on the outside.
Yeah, Teal, one of those guys really good at the road courses. Nathan Velez will be starting in 7th in the 48, and outside of him, Paul Ross in the 18, also looking for a good finish.
9th and 10th will be Sam Close in the number 5, David Wilson in the 39. Both those guys had mediocre runs at Kokomo last night in the Dirt Triple Crown, looking to improve this week at Watkins Glen.
And Mike Stevens in the 63 is going to be starting in 11th. Outside of him in 12th is going to be Richard Hines in the 87.
Moving on back to the 7th row, Johnny Thomas in the 83, Carlos Acosta in the number 24. They'll be starting in 13th and 14th. Thomas on the inside, Acosta on the outside.
Moving back to 15th, Corey Lindsay in the 00 is going to be starting on the inside. Outside of him will be Tanner Sharp in the number 3.
Matt Gruenberg in the 54 starting all the way back in 17th alongside Kyle Hanshaw in that purple and blue number 46.
Beautiful car. We mentioned it last week. And then in 19th, it's going to be Kevin Giavrisich. I believe we still have some more drivers.
We'll pull up the rest of the running order here. Not showing. Oh, because they're all tangled up here on the... Interestingly, the running order on ATVO is organized correctly. Or it was, anyway.
Yeah, so notably I can see there it's Johnny Thomas, Jordan McEvoy, and I'm trying to figure out who's the last car.
Trying to figure out what someone we didn't call.
Oh, I think is that Chad Brown?
Chad Brown, yeah, Chad Brown. 64. So there's the last couple runners. Work our way down this straightaway here. If any, remember the slipstream going to be extremely effective down the back straight here. High speeds, low downforce cars. This is going to be an exceptional passing opportunity, but it leads into a very tricky corner. That carousel, Finian, you need your downforce, and you don't have a ton of it when you race at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you're out of the guy in front of you getting air to the car. This is one of the corners where you definitely need as much downforce as possible to rotate the car.
So the rest of the field working their way now down into the boot. I think this is probably one of the trickiest braking zones here, Finian, because you don't really want to be all the way to driver's right when you come down here. You kind of want to be center of the racetrack to the almost to the left lane and just kind of hug that apex all the way around the corner against that white curb to be fast around there. Otherwise, your car will get very upset. I predict we'll see someone wipe out in this corner tonight. Very, very tricky and underrated corner at Watkins Glen. And the elevation change here, the cameras do not do it justice. A couple stories between where we are now and where we just were, and that's a pretty big climb up there down the back. The second of really 3 back straights here at Watkins Glen, depending on what configuration you're using. And a lot of straightaways here, again, known as the super speedway of road courses. Average speeds into the 140s, 150s for these Indy cars around here. That's ridiculously fast.
Yeah, any cars with a high downforce, they lap incredibly fast here. An F1 car or a prototype, the amount of downforce that's needed to make these cars go fast is insane, and they have all of it here.
Peter Short, the number 22, will be starting on the outside of that first row. I like that outside in the first row, Finian. It gives you more options on corner exit. Now, you do have to worry about the curbing here at Watkins Glen. We don't have to deal with it in the bus stop chicane because of the layout that we're on, but at the exit of turn 1, you can beat yourself on that rumble strip on corner exit. These cars are so low, so if Peter Short can stay off of that, he might have a good run if he can pinch down the 15 on corner exit. Pace car is going to roll off here. Chad Frankenfield, the number 15 Miller Lite Dallara IR18, will lead them down to the green flag. We're going to go for 60 minutes, about 42 laps of racing. Coming up here for the 3WideRacing League Triple Crown, race number 2. Green flag flies, and we're going here at Watkins Glen.
And there you see Frankenfield take out a great lead over Peter Short. Here comes Tate Lytle to the inside of Short, trying to take away second.
Oh, Lytle's loose on the inside. Does he hang on to it? He does. He's going to lose a couple spots. And the rest of the field kind of scattering behind him, trying to figure out how to get around, but already chaos through the S's. Very high-speed section here, Finian. You can't really be side-by-side, but there's some guys trying it. That was Mike Stevens in the 63 and Johnny Thomas in the 83 trying to get sorted out. Let's head back out front.
Yeah, there you see that Zelensky was able to jump up into third, and these top 3 have broken away from the rest of the field. Here's the rest of the pack, and they're all nose to tail.
Drew Eisenman in the 77 started 5th, is maintaining that spot for now, trying to hang on. Paul Ross in the 18's behind him, the 48 of Velez. Here comes Tate Lytle trying to get back to the inside. Paul Ross is loose, out of control, and he's going to wipe out into the fence already on lap number 1. Looks like he's got some wing damage, but that should be repairable.
Yeah, he's going to have to come in, though, to get that fixed up. He cannot drive without when you're missing half a wing like that, so he's going to have to make a pit stop here.
Let's go back, take a look. I mentioned how treacherous this corner was here, Finian. Gets down to the inside. Just gets on the brakes too much, trying not to get into Eisenman, and wipes out.
Yeah, I think Eisenman might have tripped him up entering the corner. Let's see if we can ride on board with the 18.
And it's so easy to unsettle the race car. Carlos Acosta has gone off the racetrack, as well as Mike Stevens. Will catch up with that in just a moment. But you see, just gets on the brakes a little bit too fast. And let's go back, check out what happened to Acosta. This was a multi-car accident. Started with the 63 of Stevens, so here's a replay of that.
Yeah, you can see in this corner, just
gets on the brakes, drives in too hot.
Acosta nowhere to go.
Oh,
Acosta
spins it out to miss it. Great job by Acosta.
Yeah, great job not hitting or getting any damage. Lost a lot of time though, but back up to the front as these guys complete lap 1. There you see the top 3 starting to break away and everyone else following.
Yeah, Chad Frankenfield has not been able to break the draft from Peter Short just yet, but he's given it a valiant effort as the rest of the field seems relatively strung out behind him. Johnny Thomas in the 83's taken advantage of the first lap carnage, has moved his way up into the 10th spot. David Wilson now to 9th.
Yeah, those guys have moved up a few spots. Jordan Teal especially moving from 6th to 4th, but is trying to defend off the 77 of Eisenman. Whoa. And the 48 of Velez.
Velez got really aggressive on the exit curb there. It's not very wide on exit with the curbing, so you have to be careful where you drop your right side tires, or else you can throw your power down on grass and lose control, but Velez managed to hold on to it.
Oh,
We got one around.
That's
Sam Close in the 5.
Yeah, that's a tough break. He's got some rear wing damage.
This might have just been a situation of oh, you know what? This is exactly what I was talking about here, Finian. This is just gassing up on corner exit and clips the grass with the left rear tire, and that's just enough to do it. Watch him on corner exit here, just clips the grass and spins it out.
Yeah, he has too much of the car, and then just clip the grass, and around he went.
Paul Ross, Matt Grunberg out of the race on pit road. We didn't see what happened to this car.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back a little ways to find what happened to Grunberg. This actually was at the very start of the race. Up through the S's, potentially? Oh, yeah, contact with... Ooh,
oh, that was some bad...
with Corey Lindsay, and just impales into the fence. So already, the Grunberg out of the race, and horrible start. Meanwhile, up front, battle for the lead. Side by side, Frankenfield and Peter Short. Door-to-door panel, I suppose. Side pod to side pod down the back straight.
Yeah, that's just showing the draft there that Peter Short was able to get down the straightaway, able to get side by side with Frankenfield. So really key to stay in behind the guy in front of you.
And Short was quickest in practice earlier. Frankenfield was right up there with him, so this is going to be an all-out brawl between these two cars. Look at Frankenfield pushing wide on exit. He's using up a little bit more front tire doing that.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. So you can see that I think our winners are probably going to come from one of these two guys. And yes, Kevin Rich, yes, these are weird NASCARs.
I say Eric Hutton is also missing the bus stop. I agree. I wish we were running the bus stop configuration. Everyone knows how I feel about that, but you included. But as we roll now to complete lap number 3, looks like Frankenfield's extended his lead just by a little bit. Meanwhile, Tanner Sharp in the 3 car.
Yeah, I noticed he was very slow.
Started 16th, still running 16th, so hasn't dropped any spots, but he does seem a little bit off the pace.
Yeah, I saw the speed. In the
oh, now he's off.
Yeah, there he went off the track there, so he's really struggling. Can't tell what from though. His car looks perfectly fine.
Yeah, no visual damage on that number 3 car, but now he's got gravel all over the tires. He'll have to swerve to get that off. But he tucks in behind Mike Stevens in the 63. Back up through the S's, Eisenman and Lytle are getting closer and closer as the leaders are separated by under a half a second. This battle is going to get closer and closer as we rocket down the back straight. The Eisen Designs Dallara in 5th place, hanging on to his starting spot.
They're trying to hang on. You see Lytle approaching, although Lytle has some damage to his wing. Doesn't seem like it's affecting him that much.
Yeah, at Watkins Glen, the downforce isn't absolutely necessary, so you can get away with a little bit of damage here, but it's certainly not going to be helpful. But still closing in that slipstream, very effective on the long straights. The Eisenman get a much better run off the corner, but Lytle was able to keep it close. They head down into the heel of the boot. This is one of the tightest corners on the racetrack. A very tall curb on the inside, not a whole lot of exit curbing. So you have to be careful not to overrun the exit or get on power too soon.
Yeah, otherwise it could really be a disaster for your race. Especially this early on in the run, too. You want to make sure that you got yourself to a decent pace. Not completely overdriving the car, but make sure you kind of just settle into a rhythm and start ticking off the laps.
Down into turn 1, Frankenfield, Peter Short, 1 and 2, separated by under a half a second. See them both run a little bit wide on corner exit.
Oh, that's right on board just to see how much Short's going to draft up to Frankenfield. You
can see they're approaching that long straight through the right, left, right of the top of the S's. 110-foot elevation climb. Now it's flattened out. 0.5 of a second. Now going to be 0.4, 3/10 now as he rockets down the back straight. 180-plus miles an hour. You see Frankenfield moving over to defend as they head into the carousel.
Oh, and you can see he gained 0.4 of a second down the straightaway. That's how much the draft is.
And he's been dogging him as we have a battle behind. That's Velez and Eisenman side by side, but Velez will back out of it. Eisenman will try to get a spot. He lost one to Tate Lytle the prior corner, so that 56 car back up to the 5th spot.
Yeah, Eisenman under attack from the 48 of Velez. You see there, Velez trying to get around. And I think a lot of these guys are favoring heading into the carousel over passing anywhere else at the moment.
It's definitely the prime passing opportunity with this track layout for sure, but there are other places to pass here, Finian. Turn 1 is another good passing opportunity, but because of the way it's shaped and because of how tight it is, it really does lend itself to crossover moves. So if you're on the outside and you're getting past, you can back off the throttle and let the guy overdrive the corner, and that's a really good opportunity to get your spot back. Whoa, the 77 spins around. Eisenman loops it on corner exit. He'll get right back going and lose 2 spots.
That was a great recovery.
Yeah, well, this is typical of this corner here, Finian. This is a very tricky corner. Again, we mentioned how off-camber it is. When you put the power down, the rear end just skips around and cannot get grip.
Yeah, I absolutely despise this corner. I actually think I got a little bit of curb there, which upset the car more.
And curbs there have been changed recently, but we have Corey Lindsey, the same prior corner. That'd be the heel of the boot where he struggled. He's got some wing damage. I believe that was from contact with Gruenberg, but let's quickly take a look at this incident. I believe this was just a simple overdrive down into the heel.
I wonder, did Mike Stevens have him get in?
No, I think it was all by himself here, just getting a little bit too hot and a little bit off track there, and sends around. Oh, we got some major damage there, knocked off the nose of that race car. We'll head back live up to the front. Battle for the lead continues. Frankenfield and Peter Short still dogging each other down in the boot section. We're almost 10 minutes into this race, and that 15 car is yet to pull away from Peter Short.
Yeah, these guys are completely driving away from the rest of the field. 5.6 seconds down to Zielinski. So these guys are in a class of their own up front.
See the rest of the field kind of popping out of the carousel behind them as they work their way now into turn 10 and turn 11. And turn 11 is very scary. This is a very fast corner, almost full throttle here in these IR18 cars, and there's a little bit of rumble strip on exit, but then there's that tire wall. If you hit that, your day is done. Johnny Thomas losing a spot to Sam Close in the number 5. And Close is making it work with a damaged wing, so that number 5 car moving his way back forward as we head back to lead. I don't want to miss this, Finney, and this is going to be a close battle. We get to the top of the S's.
Oh yeah, this is definitely, they're going to be side by side. It's just a matter of when. You can already see visually Peter Short getting the draft. Frankenfield to defend. Out goes Peter Short. They're going to be side by side into the carousel.
Yeah, can he clear him before we get down here? I don't think he's going to. He'll have to back out, tuck back in behind. That's the frustrating part, Finian. It's very easy to defend on the back straight. But he's going to slip up, and Peter Short will have a look on the outside. Will he try to cross back over? Almost gets in the grass on corner entry.
Yeah, saw the opportunity. Tried to do the crossover. Not enough, though. So Short's going to have to continue on.
This is the closest battle on the racetrack right now. So the 15 of Frankenfield and Peter Short dogging each other for the lead onto the back straight of the boot. Now 0.4 of a second separating them. Bill nose to tail now 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, these guys are running a lap faster than the next fastest car, both these guys. So it's just kind of showing how much pace they have.
And Levi Zielinski, the third place car, he's back 6 seconds from Frankenfield and Peter Short. So these guys are setting a fervent pace here. And no yellows are going to be in play here tonight. So that means that these guys will just continue to extend their lead as long as they don't run into each other. Down into turn 1 again now for the 8th time. Short really wide on corner exit. Now, this is a discussion that always comes up here at Watkins Glen, Finian, is the exit of turn 1 and whether it's advantageous to run wide. And I don't think it is in fast cars like this. In slow cars like the MX-5s, you can really get a lot of speed by widening that apex. But in the IndyCar, you want to keep that tight.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could, even in the stock car, too, it's not really advantageous. No. In few cases, maybe, but mostly it's better just stick it onto the track. But yeah, definitely in these guys, you want to keep it on the track or you just lose so much pace by running wide. And especially what really happens is because of all that grass there, you have to tug the car back onto the racing line, and that kills your momentum into what is probably the most important momentum area on the racetrack is Mike Stevens in the 63 passes Jordan McKeevoy for 14th. Looks like McKeevoy is going to surrender that spot. He's going to put himself back in 15th.
Corey Lindsey has come down to pit lane, and that'll probably be either some wing fixing or a retirement for that 0-0.
Yeah, I think it's going to be retirement. He's not on the car, so that's what I think from that. So yeah, 3 cars currently out. We're down from 21 to 18 guys still running on track, and all of them on the legal.
Well, we're doing better than we were at Iowa last week, that's for sure. But Frankenfield now leads. Last time by, we're in a 126.4 to Peter Short's 126.3 and a 126.9 by 3rd and 4th place Zielinski and Teal. So they're continuing to run the fastest laps on the racetrack now with 48 minutes to go back down through turn 1. See them really using that curb on exit. That would worry me a little bit, but it seems like whatever setup they got on it is just soft enough to allow them to make that work. Yeah, notably too, Frankenfield, Peter Short, Frankenfield ran his fastest lap of the race last time by, 125.6. Short ran a 125.8. Only guys in the 25s and only one other car is in the 26s, and that's 56 of Tate Lytle. Actually, speaking of Lytle, looks like he's catching up to the 33 of Jordan Teal. So that 56 really fast he got mired back in traffic after that poor start, and Johnny Thomas down pit road with some damage. Yeah, I didn't see where this came from, so we'll have to take a look. Looked like it was earlier in the lap.
I think it was right here. Yeah, it was right here. There it is.
Yeah, just got too early on power and smacked the wall on corner exit. Really seems like the boot's been the trouble spot here tonight, Finney. And a lot of drivers, especially ones that are more typically associated with stock cars, they don't race this portion of the racetrack a lot, and the experience matters.
Yeah, definitely so, and you gotta know your limitations. Yes, these cars have a boatload of downforce, but I mean, these cars have their limits as well. So you gotta make sure you don't overdrive it. That's what a lot of people I think have been doing so far, and the car's been biting back at them.
Yeah, again, I think it's very important that a lot of these guys are not don't consider themselves road racers, and typically, if you know a guy owns Levi Zielinski crashed.
Oh. Actually, he might be fine, other than some wing damage, but all the damage seems concentrated on the nose.
Well, again, this is the exit of the boot section, and the same thing we saw with the 77.
So he's gonna have to come down pit road, fix that wing. Should be a quick pit stop for him. Back out on the track, he'll go.
But as I was saying, Finian, these guys, whenever they hear Watkins Glen, I'm sure they think of the short course here. And if we take a look from up above, the short course, you see really towards the middle of your screen, cutting that whole boot-shaped section off, and that's really what these drivers are familiarized with. You see Tate Lytle going to be going down a spot here, or trying to get a spot away from Jordan Teal in that 33 car.
Teal's still fighting him. He's going to put Lytle to the outside. Lytle going to try to do the over-under here. Not going to quite. He's going to have a little bit of a run here as they head up to the top, heading up towards the top of the boot.
I'm not sure what we missed here, Finian, but Peter Short, 9 seconds back from Frankenfield.
Yeah, I think we missed maybe an error from the 22.
I'm sure we missed something.
Oh, yep.
Oh, and this is, again, down into the turn 1 area. And this is a very tricky place for the stock cars, but it just gets too deep on the brakes, locks up, and loops it right behind Chad Frankenfield, so severely hurts Peter Short's chances of winning, and it was tricky to get that thing spun back around in the right direction.
Yeah, Short losing a lot of time, and that's going to be, I think, a little bit too much to recover from, as you see now the battle between the 56 and the 33 for third place.
Another Eisen Designs machine, that 33 car. Yeah, this place is, everyone likes to look at Watkins Glen as a simple racetrack fitting, but it's definitely not easy. It might be simple by design, but it's a very difficult track to drive, especially at these speeds.
Yeah, I would say it's Watkins Glen is a track that's simple. It's relatively easy to drive, but it's hard to drive fast.
Yes.
And faster than a lot of other people. And that's really where you start to see the mistakes being made, is when people are on the edge of grip.
Now, the difference is that the struggles these drivers are facing here tonight are more based on just the lack of downforce and the amount of power. These guys are typically driving stock cars, which they have more issues with wheel hop and shifting than anything else. But a very different kind of race car here in the IndyCar Dallara than the stock cars. And see Mike Stevens in the 63 kind of early on the brakes there, lost some time to McKeevoy behind.
Yeah, and here they're both catching Kyle Hanshaw on the 46 ahead of them, so here's going to be a pass. Stevens with a lot of speed.
This climb up through the S is very important.
Wow.
We'll tuck to the inside, almost in contact there with the 46 as they work their way down the back straightaway, kind of working off of each other. And McKeevoy's sitting behind, waiting for an opportunity, but he might just have to lay back as Stevens clears the 46 into the carousel.
Yeah, Hanshaw early on the brakes there, and that's going to allow McKeevoy to try to look, but Hanshaw's going to cut him off and defend that position. This is 11th, 12th, and 13th you're looking at. You see Hanshaw go wide on entry.
Yeah, he drove in really deep into that corner to try to defend from the 21, but was able to hold him off, but almost gave away the corner with that move there. But Levi Zielinski also just behind these guys trying to gain some spots back after his misfortune.
Yeah, drop back from third place all the way back to 14th, but he's got 3 cars ahead of him and a lot of pace, I can imagine, and a lot of determination to get back the spots he lost.
Well, as we watch this battle, this will be for 12th. Up front, Peter Short is eaten in. He ran a 125.8. Oh, huge crash for Hanshaw. Big contact at the exit of the boot.
Yeah, and again, one of the big trouble spots here is seeing that exit of the boot.
Yeah, we knew this was going to be a hard place for these drivers here tonight, but getting up the hill, you lose all the gravity on your race car, throttles up a little bit too fast, a little bit too early, and corrects straight into the fence. And I believe McKeevoy might have gotten a piece of that.
Might have been awfully close. But yeah, Hanshaw's pulling to the pits. But as we were talking about there, Peter Short eating into that 15's lead. Yeah, I was worried about if he was able to catch him. I actually lost a little bit of time this lap. But has got the potential, though. We still got over 40 minutes left in this race.
Notably, the 21 of Jordan McEvoy has come down pit lane along with Kyle Hanshaw to fix their crash damage. Tanner Sharp in the number 3 also coming to pit lane.
Yeah, he's going to fix that left front wing.
David Wilson in the 39. He's slow. Let's take a look at what happened to him. This is, again, just too much on throttle here, Finney, and it's catching out these drivers. These things are very powerful, and you got to respect them, especially with the lower downforce packages.
Yeah, so he just got a little bit of grass and into the wall he went. Lost his entire front wing and damage to the rear wing.
As we head back out, it looks like Kyle Hanshaw in the 46 has made his component replacements and is back out. Looks like that car is going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I guess he did only ding it on the nose and the rear wing, so he's going to be able to drive back out. He's in 15th and going to try to chase down some guys ahead of him.
David Wilson down on pit lane now to fix his damage. Rest of the field relatively spread out with the exception of Teal and Velez. They're running 4th and 5th. And it looks like the 48's closing in on that 33 car.
Yeah, Teal got around, I believe Teal got around him. And now Velez trying to get that position back.
Right on board the right front suspension cam here that Velez has allowed us to place on his car for tonight. See the suspension components moving. Will he take a look to the inside? No, he'll back out, force a 33 to drive in deep. Locks up, does the 33. He's wide on corner exit.
Wide, but it's not enough for Velez to catch up to him. Here they go, exit of the boot. Seeing a lot of people struggle there. You can see the understeer out of these guys, but they both keep the composure.
Scary moments there when you're trying to chase a guy down. You don't want to step in that throttle a little bit too much. It's hard to recover in a downforce car. Once you have the tire spinning, you're going for a ride. Update on the lead battle. Short continues to run better laps than Frankenfield. Is just slightly eating into the lead now. If we continued at this pace, he might get there, but it's going to be a long road ahead for him.
Yeah, definitely so. He's got to make sure that he's eating in every single lap again for it to not to lose time. So Short's going to have to keep on his best and try to chase that 15 down. But here we see Giabricic in the 42 catching the 87 of Richard Hines out of him. And this is a battle for 8th place.
Giabricic was slow there on the straight, but looks like he's gathered it back up. You know, and head back up to the battle between Teal and Velez. Continues to be close between them. Teal not able to drive away from Velez. 40 minutes left in this race now as they come out of turn 6.
Wow, you see Velez go very deep into the corner there, missed his apex by a lot, hit some grass. He's going to keep it going straight as he's pushing hard to get back to the 33.
And Chad Brown was in and out of pit road in the 64 car.
And you see Teal.
Oh, Velez is almost around. I don't know if he spun. It was really close.
He might have locked up his brakes.
Oh, hit the curb. Big time curb damage. Did he have front wing damage? Oh, it looks like he's okay. But it's very easy to damage your wing on the curbs around here. Some of them are pretty tall.
Yeah, and actually, if you go on the roll bar of Jordan Teal, you should see the wing a little bit dented up on the left side there compared to the right. So he definitely got some curb damage.
Down through turns number 1 and 2. Up through the S's again, the 110-foot climb, lots of compression. And then they get to the top of the hill, you'll lose a little bit of grip here in the stock cars, but in the Indy cars, flat all the way through this section onto the back straight. Kind of a lonely feeling out here when there's no other cars around you.
Yeah, lonely feeling indeed, but then Peter Short trying to make sure that's not a lonely feeling as he's, again, still eating in 0.3 of a second difference last time by, so Short is definitely catching at this rate. And also, again, I just have to point it out, they're the only 2 drivers under 126, everyone else is 127 and over on lap times.
Pit lane is a very busy place right now. Eisenman in and out, and this is probably a scheduled stop for that 77 car.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah, there are a lot of people on pit road, although it's kind of hard to tell how many have damage or not.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are coming in just to get fuel here, Finian, and make it to the end. I know...
Frankenfield down.
Frankenfield is down as well, so... yeah, I think this is going to be your one and only pit stop to make it to the end here, Finian, so that 15 car coming in. Will Peter Short stay out just to make some clean laps? It looks like he will. But what does Tate Lytle do in the number 56, who's up to 3rd? And actually, I should say more back to 3rd as he's climbed his way back up after spinning on lap number 1.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, yeah, best is to come down as early as possible, fix that wing damage so you're not losing any more downforce. Again, Lytle kind of up into 3rd place. You're really not chasing that much ahead. The 22 and 15 are in worlds of their own. I see the 15 of Frankenfield lead pit road.
So one thing Peter Short can do here, Finney, is he can overcut if he can run himself out as much fuel as possible, come down, take less fuel than Frankenfield, he can make up a ton of ground. And he's got warm tires as well. So that 22 car, it's got to play some strategy here if he wants to gain time on the 15 car.
Yeah, and I think that's just a good strategy call there. The 22, he was faster than Frankenfield when they came down into the pits, so he's faster on the older tires still than Frankenfield, so we'll see. Frankenfield will probably be a little bit faster now, but Peter Short trying to get the most out of this tire life, and then maybe get and then we'll have fresher tires once he comes down later in the run.
Oh man, I'm really not sure with the whole tire situation here, Finian. I think
I don't think
he's running
as
some
far
pretty
as
good laps though.
Yeah,
I mean, like he's running 125.9s. He's still running better times than the 15 car was before. So I don't know if it's more of a fuel thing or a tire thing.
Oh no, I'm just saying that it'll be more comfortable to drive with and just go a
certainly.
little bit faster.
He's in immediately here, so responding immediately to the 15's advances. Jordan Teal and Velez still nose to tail as they work their way back out. They have not pitted yet either, and neither has Carlos Acosta, so this is the only 3 cars that have yet to come down pit lane, and we'll see if they come down this time through. Out of turn 11, will they come in? Yes, they will. They're going to follow each other nose to tail. Will Velez close up any ground? He made up some pretty good time there.
And we'll watch these guys down pit road and see if Velez is able to get maybe side by side with Teal. There you see the leader, Frankenfield, coming through turn 1. And Short should be leaving pit road. There he goes.
So he might have actually lost a little bit of ground here after all, but we'll take a look. Overall, his top was a little bit slower than Frankenfield's, but he made up a lot of ground on the racetrack. So 7 seconds the gap now. That's about a 1.5 second improvement over where he was.
Yeah, waiting for it to officially update there. Should be, looks like to be about 7 seconds.
Teal and Velez will come out, give the advantage to Teal by just over a second, so he made up about 0.8 of a second in that pit stop sequence. The rest of the field looks like they're all cycled through. Looks like we have approximately 11 cars, well, maybe 12 if you include Sam Close, that are still in this. A couple more guys are a lap down trying to hang on, but the majority of the field that is left competitive is really the top 10.
And the ones for the win are really the top 2. You see Peter Short, according to our numbers, he's on just under 7 seconds away from Frankenfield. I'm not entirely sure why it's not showing the gap.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, so 6.7 recorded right now for us, and right now the 15 car is still out in front by a pretty significant margin. But Peter Short's digging into that pretty fast here, Finian.
Yeah, pretty fast indeed, almost suspiciously fast.
There it goes. It's up down there now.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, so 6.4 seconds. So I don't know what was the difference between both their laps, but yeah, Peter Short having a much better outlap than Frankenfield.
His outlap was over a second faster than Frankenfield's was, so that'll help for sure. But Peter Short now only 6.2 back, still making up time. So, and Frankenfield's last lap was only a 1:26.5. Peter Short was running 1:25.9s before he even came into the pit, so that 22 car is on it right now. Carlos Acosta in for his first and only pit stop here tonight. Curious, though. I want to watch this 22 car here. We'll ride on board here for about a half a lap. He's being really aggressive on corner entry here, but very smooth. You can tell he's pushing, but he's not doing it in a way that's overly aggressive. His lines are very smooth right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's kind of stalled out at around 6 seconds at the moment. So really, next time when they come across the line, we'll see how both their lap times are compared.
A little bit loose on corner exit there, but got the power down well. He improved a lot in that last sector, Finney. Now 5.9.
Seems to be a lot better. Yeah, it seems to be a lot better in this last sector than Frankenfield.
Yeah,
that's where he's making
significantly better in that sector. 5.5 coming out of the final corner. What's the lap time across the line? A 26.6 for Frankenfield, a 25.6 for Peter Short, and that is just short of his best lap time.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Frankenfield is running that far off the pace. 126 is pretty slow for him, considering both him and Short were running the 125s not too long ago.
Yeah, Peter Short has now made up over 3 seconds that he had lost after his spin down in turn number 1. You can see him at the back of the shot there. And Frankenfield's got to be looking at that relative box, getting a little bit worried about that 22, because he's got 33 minutes left to get there. That's about half the race left, so still some time yet for the 22.
Yeah, he's got a lot of time to get back up there. He's got to get around the lap car of 64 Chad Brown ahead of him. You see Chad Brown letting him by.
Chad Brown running in 12th spot right now, 2 laps down. And this middle sector through the boot seems to be where Frankenfield excels. And actually seems to gap Peter Short just a little bit, but it's the first and last sectors that Peter Short really seems to do well. I think I actually have sector information on here. Yeah, you can see the 3 sectors. That middle sector that includes the carousel and the first half of the boot seems to be where Frankenfield is better. And Peter Short, between the start-finish line in the first sector and the last sector in the start-finish line, that seems to be where he is quickest. 5.2 now.
Yeah, it's going to be about almost 5 seconds, I think, by the time they get to the line.
Out of turn 11,
5.2.
Frankenfield was a 126.2. Peter Short was a 125.9. So a little bit less improvement that time through. But again, that was one of Frankenfield's better laps since the restart. Or since the pit stop, I should say. Closest battle on the racetrack is between Jordan Teal and Velez, still 1.2 seconds separating them. Velez running just a little bit slower than Teal, but we'll see if he can reverse that this time by the line.
Yeah, Teal lost a little bit of ground on the pit stop sequence, lost about 0.4 of a second. So he's going to have to try to eat that back up and reel in the 33 for 4th.
Almost identical lap times, both 127.4s for those drivers the last time across the line. Up through the S's, there's your battle for 4th. Teal and Velez just outside the draft here, Finian, probably under 0.8 of a second, really where it's the most effective at a road course.
Yeah, definitely. So this a little bit far back for it to be really to be too effective. So he's got to break in at least under a second to get any sort of draft.
Everyone else around the racetrack pretty well spread out here. Frankenfield out in front of Short, still by 5.2 seconds as they work their way back to complete lap number 20.
And how about Levi Zielinski in the 97, all the way up now to 7th after getting some damage into the wall.
Yeah, he didn't panic in that situation. He just got himself righted a little bit and fixed the damage. Got back out there. He's running very competitive lap times and quicker than a couple guys in front of him. So if that 97 can just get a little bit more time on Eisenman and Velez, he might have something for him towards the end of the race.
Actually, Jadricic behind him is actually pretty fast. One of the fastest cars in the midfield. Actually, this 42 ran 127 flat compared to Zielinski's 127.7, so I think Jadricic might catch him.
Update on the leaders as they came across the line. The gap is now 5 seconds flat, but Frankenfield actually extended his lead by about 1/10 of a second at the start-finish line. So Short slowed down a little bit. Frankenfield ran a pretty quick lap compared to his last few, so a little bit off there for Frankenfield as he improves his pace. Probably looking down at Peter Short, realizing he can't diddle around anymore. He's got to go.
Yeah, and he has to make sure he's at least a second ahead of Short, otherwise Short's going to start getting that draft back onto him, and then Frankenfield's going to have a hard time shaking him loose to see Mike Stevens around.
Yeah, he spun out down in turn number 8. We'll get a look at it. Right from the chopper cam here as we head down into turn 8. Got an amber alert, excuse me.
Yeah, in Rochester.
Yeah, you got that too?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got that too. I don't know why I got that.
All right, well.
Makes sense for you to get that from because you're from, I guess, I don't know, that's weird. But anyway.
As we carry on, Mike Stevens spun out there down in turn number 8. We'll continue back up to the front. Peter Short now trailing by 4.8 seconds. So continuing his climb forward. And last time back, a 125.6 to Frankenfield's 126.1 fitting. He's definitely eating into that lead quick enough to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, at this rate, he's gonna, like we were talking about, he's gonna catch him. And I don't know what it is with Frankenfield. I wonder if Frankenfield's just kind of taking his time, kind of biding his time, making sure he doesn't make a mistake, so that Peter Short catches him. I'm kind of curious why he's backed off the pace.
Yeah, I mean, he could have also just, I really think it's just being conservative. He has a big lead. I mean, if he knows he's capable of running the lap times Peter Short is running right now, then he can save that a little bit later and maybe save his tires just a little bit. I don't see the need in pushing when you have this big of a lead, but at the same time, Peter Short is just ridiculously talented. We've talked about it. He's the quickest car out there by a huge margin and continuing to show off his talent here in the 3WideRacing League.
Yeah, as you see there, Lytle in third, Teal in fourth, Velez in fifth, your top 5. And everyone kind of staying relatively put. Though I keep seeing that Jadricic is catching Zielinski, but the gap's about the same. So I find that kind of interesting. He was about he was about the same gap behind, 2.7 seconds, but 6/10, showing 6/10 of a second faster than Zelensky last time around the line. So kind of curious if Jastrich will catch Zelensky at all, but that will potentially be one of the closest battles on the track. Again, everyone pretty spread out at this point.
Pretty spread out indeed. Let's take a look back at how about Jordan Teal in that number 33 car. It's got Nathan Velez chasing him, but Teal has turned up the wick here the past couple laps and has been running away from Velez. Prior to the pit stop, that 48 car was chasing him down.
Yeah, when they came out of the pits, they were about a second, about 1 second, 1.2 seconds ahead. Teal was ahead of Velez, so now it's expanded to over 2 seconds between them.
Well, I think Peter Short just had his dreams crushed there for a second because Frankenfield just ran a 1:25.7. So Peter Short lost some ground last time and has to eat back what he just lost. So I think Frankenfield's capable of faster lap times. The question is he not running them on purpose or is he just getting lucky a couple laps?
Yeah, I think it was probably, I think he might now be trying to turn up the wick here on his car. So we'll see if he continues this pace on.
There's a gap between first and second. Chad Frankenfield heading off into turn number 10. Peter Short now coming out of the boot area, now into turn 10 himself. So about a short shoot of a difference between the two leaders. Mike Stevens in the 63 off and spun around again, and in one of the 2 trouble spots we've seen today. And looks like he might have gotten a curb and a little bit of bouncy suspension there, and got loose on corner exit. Spun himself back around and nosed into the wall just a little bit.
Yeah, got a little damage from that, so he's gonna try to continue going on. Has some heavy damage to the left side of that wing.
Back when I ran cross country, if your voice cracked, you weren't allowed to talk for 2 minutes.
Well, I really can't do that.
I'm just kidding. I'll start the clock now.
But yeah, so Short still trying to eat into that lead, falling a bit short of the mark here. Look, because it seems Frankenfield has started to pick up the pace now. Yeah, they ran almost identical lap times. Short only faster by 0.05 of a second.
Yeah, but
last time by.
I will note that overall difference is still shrinking just a little bit. It was 4.7 a moment ago, now 4.8. So it's still coming down. It just seems like the overall lap time difference doesn't seem enormous, but he's just chipping away a couple hundredths at a lap. He needs to get more than that to get back to the 15, and then passing is a whole other ordeal. We saw him struggle with that earlier in the race, but I think Peter Short's got the pace to do it. He just got to keep doing what he's doing and hope Frankenfield messes up. Checking with Richard Hines. We haven't talked to him. I believe he finished 4th last week. Or was that 4th? That was 4th in the dirt race last night, was it not?
I think so. Might have been.
Does he have a result for last week? Oh, so must not have raced last week. But Richard Hines in the 87 having a good run here in 9th. Last car on the lead lap. Running 1:28 lap time, so pretty good results for that 87 car here this week. And with 21 entries, 9th ain't too bad.
He's about 10 or so seconds up the road from Frankenfield, so he's in danger of getting lapped. Not that it entirely matters here because there are no cautions, so Hines is going to continue on.
And one of the chat users mentioned they also got that same alert that we did. I've always freaked out. That's why I turn my phone off and test because I'm afraid I'm going to get an Amber Alert or something and trigger everybody. But as we continue to watch battle, now down to 4 seconds is the lead. Peter Short just took a big chunk out of it.
Kind of curious as to why. I think that was uncharacteristically slow for Frankenfield, but nevertheless, Short still eating into that gap now just under 4 seconds.
There's the difference right there as Peter Short pops into view. And the track beginning to rubber in here just a little bit, Finney, and just enough cars out on track to make that pavement a little bit darker. And when the rubber collects, it also creates marbles offline, and that's going to make those flat corners even trickier when they get offline.
Yeah, you have to make sure you don't get offline just for that. It could really mess up the handling of your car, especially when you're asking every single inch of space from it. If you make a mistake, it's going to be huge. So, especially deep in this race where you can't really recover from that. Now 3.6 seconds the gap between Short and Frankenfield, so really closing in.
And still making good time as we climb the S's with that number 22 car, 125.6 to a 126.5 for Frankenfield. I'm almost curious if he has any damage with the pace he's going, but the car looks fine to me.
Yeah, it looks fine, so he's going to continue on, try to maintain that gap, but now 3.5 seconds and falling.
Oh, Peter Short also going to have the tow from, that might be Chad Brown?
No,
5? No, 3. 3 of Tanner Sharp. Everyone's driving black Indy cars. But got a little bit of a toe there, and that certainly didn't hurt him. Now 3.5 seconds, and there is the slow car of Sam Close in the number... Oh, that's not Sam Close.
Might be Chad Brown.
I'm telling you. No, it is Chad Brown. Everyone's driving black cars, I swear. With no sponsorship or anything.
And Chad Brown's going to move out of the way, let Peter Short continue on his charge to the front.
Well, that didn't hurt him again, and now 3.3 seconds. Levi Zielinski back down pit lane here, Finney. No damage visible on that car.
No, I think I think he might have to come in here. I think because he came in a lot earlier than some of these other guys, and they might actually have to make another stop. Kind of curious, so
keep our eye on that as the battle for fourth beginning to heat up. Teal and Velez. It's interesting, Finney, how later in the run we get, the disparity in lap time seems to grow as Velez is chased down Teal once again. The difference between them at 0.8 of a second. Now the leaders separated by 3.2.
Yeah, and Short last time by ran almost one of his fastest laps of the race. Was only slower by about 7 hundredths of a second off his personal best time here. So really starting to push the car.
You can see the difference, 3.2 seconds, and Frankenfield can certainly see him in the mirrors now. And it's going to put some extra pressure on that 15 car with 21 minutes remaining. We're getting down to crunch time. And I'm sensing that 22 is going to be there right when the 15 doesn't want him to, in the moments when it's getting most intense inside that cockpit.
And definitely so, and I think Frankenfield might be struggling here to find some pace that Peter Short is consistently finding.
Yeah, Peter Short's average lap time has been in the mid to high 125s. Chad's been in the low 126s. Yeah. So it seems like Peter Short's just averaging better times over the course of the run. And this is par for the course for Peter Short. We mentioned that in the Truck Series, he won on road courses. He won on short tracks. He won on speedways.
There's Richard Hines in the wall.
Richard Hines in the 87. Big contact for him.
Yeah, we're talking about how well he was doing. He's going to pull it off the track from the tire. But yeah, again, off the boot. Does he clip the... No, he just spins out.
Gets wide. And just put the power down and bam. The curb actually got extended there in recent years, so I'm sure Richard Hines is wishing we had the updated version that had that extra bit of curbing. But as I was saying about Peter Short, Finney, I don't want to get lost here on this topic because Peter Short, the talent level that is contained inside this helmet is absolutely phenomenal. We mentioned the trucks, one on speedways, one on road courses, short tracks. You bring him to the dirt side of things. He runs podium there. You put him in an open wheel car, runs second last week. Here he is right now running second, chasing down Frankenfield, 2.7 seconds between the leaders.
I would say the only really other styles of racing I haven't really seen him in is endurance in the endurance world and rallycross. So interested to see how he would do there. Probably wouldn't be too surprised. But yeah, here's a battle brewing. The 48 Velez is caught back up to Jordan Teal. And has been slowly eating the gap that Teal made, so now Velez is catching back up.
Climbing the S's now onto the back straightaway. And just in range where that draft might be a little bit effective, at 0.8 of a second, now it's going to be upper 0.7.
You can already see that he's tacking out down the straightaway, so definitely within it. Not getting the full effect of it, but still it's helping him get closer to Teal. I see Teal running a little bit wide there on the entrance to the boot.
Down into the boot now. Good entry for the 48. Gets it turned down to the apex. Doesn't clip the curb. You don't want to do that a whole lot here. These Indy cars pretty sensitive to grip changes, and those curbs are quite slippery with that white paint. So now up, you see a little bit of understeer through the middle parts of the corner. And loose on exit, and he's going to almost spin, but the 2-foot save will correct that 48 car and get him rolling, but he's just lost a 1.5 seconds. Back to Jordan Teal.
Yeah, fantastic save, though, from the 48. Again, unfortunate that he's going to lose a lot of pace, but he's going to have to try to gather up what he can and chase him back down. Meanwhile, Kevin Giadricic is down on pit road for his stop. So, and as have others made their second stop, so I'd imagine it wouldn't be too out of the question to see these leaders come down again.
Mike Stevens in the 63. Oh, did he just crash big time? That 63 car just did. And this was coming to pit lane. And I imagine he might have just gotten loose on corner entry. Yep. And corrects it and slams into the tire barrier. Big contact there. And it's going to be a pretty big, important wing change for that 63 car as he pulls into this pit. Tate Lytle also on pit road. Going to imagine everyone's coming in for a second stop here, Finian.
Yeah, definitely.
Peter Short now has the gap down to 2.4, so continuing to run 125.5s. And again, that was only about 200ths off of his best lap time, so he is whipping off the laps.
And there's someone just pounded the wall hard there. I think that was Drew Eisenman.
Oh, man. Eisenman indeed. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, just overcorrects right in front of, I believe that was Short that was about to roll through there. Let's take another look from on board. And he was having a good run, and then just one little mistake here. We'll take you out. Flips the curb, upsets the car on the throttle. It's just terrible timing. All right, so now the question becomes, what's the strategy in play for the 22 and the 15? We've seen the 22 just eat away 6 seconds out of Frankenfield's lead. So what can Frankenfield do to defend from Peter Short's advances?
Really, I mean, an undercut, that's about it. There's not much really strategy-wise it can do. Can't make any adjustments on the cars, and Short's catching him regardless what he does. So, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. I think Frankenfield, all he can really do defending is the way he's driving, so when Short gets back into the draft, just trying to place his blocks defensively.
Jordan Teal down pit lane. Notably, Nathan Velez, the guy that was trying to chase him down, did not come to pit road, so Velez trying to play some strategy here as well. So the cards are falling into place for the last run here with just over 15 minutes remaining. 2 seconds separate the leaders now. Frankenfield and Short. Last time by, a 125.6 and a 125.6 for Frankenfield and Short, so identical, but Peter Short can just reel him in a ton on this lap.
Yeah, and there you see Frankenfield just peeled off into pit road. So I think he's decided now it's time. I think he just wants some fresh rubber to work with, and Short's going to continue on the track. There's going to be key here. Again, I'm not entirely sure how much. I think Short might have another lap or two potentially before he has to come down. If he can just stay out, just try to run on that clean air, make some ground up, could help him get up to the 15 Frankenfield.
Well, he did gain time last time staying out an extra lap, so I think he's just going to try to employ the same strategy tonight. You see Mike Stevens in the number 63 behind Short. He's got that damage repaired, running in 9th. So Frankenfield back out on the racetrack, 32 seconds from the entrance to pit lane to the exit. A 9.1 second pit stop, not bad, so we'll see what Peter Short can do, and if he can do any better the next time he comes down. Some lap traffic ahead. That's the 64 at Chad Brown on corner exit. A little bit slow, and that's going to force Short to take evasive action as they head down the back straightaway.
Yeah, I'm sure Short probably would have liked him to move out a little bit earlier on the track or be less in the racing line, but Short will continue nonetheless on his charge. And we'll see, does he make the decision to come down pit road this time by?
I think we'll see this 22 come on through here, so we'll ride on board and watch his pit entrance. Tried to steer away from the curb there just a little bit, but now comes in, arcs it in pretty late. I think, oh, he's going to stay out another lap. So Peter Short really trying to take advantage of Chad Frankenfield here.
Yeah, so right now, Peter Short needs to be about 31, 32 seconds ahead of Frankenfield, and that's where the pit delta will be almost equal. So right now it's looking, if Short were to come in, he would be about 3 to 2 seconds behind Frankenfield.
Which is where he was when he came in. So I think Short's going to try to run a couple more laps. I'm sure he's watching that delta on his relative box to try to see what kind of pit stop time he needs. Again, we have not seen anyone in this pit sequence do anything better than a 32.2 on pit lane from start to finish. So that, again, that would put him about 2.5 seconds behind Frankenfield. That would actually be losing some time. So we'll try to see if he can run a little bit quicker than Frankenfield in a couple laps and then come down and get service. Now, just under 15 minutes to go. We're getting down to crunch time, about 10 to go in laps.
Yeah, really starting to get into the nitty-gritty here in this race, and Frankenfield losing a lot of time. He's fallen almost 30 seconds back now. It was 2.5 not too long ago, just like actually a few like 20-30 seconds ago. So Frankenfield losing some time here.
He's really got to be on it right now because Peter Short's been eating into this lead every single lap, and I think he might stay out another lap to keep growing that distance. No, he's coming in now, so this is where it's crunch time here, Finney, with 13.5 minutes to go. Peter Short comes down to pit lane. We'll watch this on the blimp cam here. There's Peter Short. Here comes Frankenfield. He's in the heel of the boot right now, working his way up back to NASCAR Turn 6.
Yeah, and you can see where when Short came in, it was about 30 seconds the gap, so depending on how good of a stop Peter Short gets, it's going to be about 2 seconds.
There he is into his box. It takes about 9 seconds to get full service. Here comes Chad Frankenfield out of turn number 11, back onto the front straight. Short is going to be done with his stop right now.
Oh, wow, had a pretty fast stop.
Oh, 8 seconds. He took less fuel that time, Finney.
And he's going to clearly take the lead. by a long shot over for the 15 of Chad Frankenfield.
Yeah, Frankenfield back now almost 2 seconds. So Peter Short vaulting the 15 car with 12.5 minutes to go. Peter Short has done it. He's passed him on the pit sequence and is now out with a 2-second lead over Frankenfield and with significantly better pace than him as well.
That might have been the move of the race, but again, I think actually by Short feeling, I think Short should have enough fuel. I think that's probably why he decided to stay out as long as he did, just so he can take a little less fuel.
Well, I thought that's what the strategy he would have employed the first time, but he waited until it actually mattered when he could get around the 15 and didn't have to deal with the dirty air. Excellent strategy call by that number 22 car. Nathan Velez down pit road for his stop.
Yeah, we'll see where he pops out with his battle with Jordan Teal.
Jordan Teal is just past him. There they are. Teal is going to have a pretty big lead on him. As you see, there is the 48 popping back out on track. So it'll be about a 3 or 4 second difference when it's all said and done. Now, I'm curious if Frankenfield has anything for Peter Short in that number 22. We haven't seen Frankenfield be able to...
lap cars up ahead.
We haven't seen the 15 be able to step up in recent laps, but with the lap traffic, he might be able to do something about it.
Well, Chad Brown just moved out of the way for Peter Short, and will do the same for Frankenfield, so he's not going to play a factor in. Frankenfield's got to get under second to get that draft. He's so close there, but we've seen Peter Short be the faster of these two.
Fast through turn 1 for the 15 car, but was Peter Short faster? It looks like he was. Picked up a 10th in turn 1.
And Short's going to get a little bit of a draft from Giavricic ahead of him lap car.
You mentioned Giavricic there. He won't even chase him down the straightaway there. He'll stay off to driver's left. See, there's Levi Zielinski in the background, and Zielinski is 7th right now, 1 lap down. You'll have about 10 minutes remaining in this race when we get back to the line. That's good enough for approximately 8 or 9 laps of racing. So Peter Short and Frankenfield will only have that much longer to determine the winner. But Tate Lytle is, huge damage to the 56. That's going to be a pit stop for sure to repair that nose. And Tate Lytle, just like that, going to be taken out of what would have been a top 5 spot.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. It was running fantastically in third. All race long, recovered from an early incident. Got himself back into this, and was that out of the boot?
Yep, same spot we've been seeing these drivers struggle with all day. Again, this is not a typical corner that you'd see in a stock car schedule, so these guys not familiar with it so much. Rides the curb on exit and smashes into the fence. And this is one of the reasons why Watkins Glen International has since reprofiled. Oh man, on corner exit, almost the 3 of Sharp almost got into him. This is why Watkins Glen has reprofiled those curbs, made them lower, flatter, and the FIA style curbing where you can use them to turn and they won't upset the car as much. So that's why they've made those changes, is because it damages race cars.
Yeah, I was going to say, right now, the version we're on, the curbs are pretty much almost means to death.
Yeah, well, they're old-fashioned curbs. Yeah, they're like Isle of Man TT curbs.
Yeah, especially you see the very thin ones. We're not talking about the wide ones. The very
white and black
fine
striped ones. Those are evil.
Yeah, very thin, very high. Can really upset the car, especially these cars.
And on the repave, the only place that has those white and black curbs is the exit of pit road. So I'm very glad they got rid of those.
There we see Peter Short expanded that lead to 2.8 seconds now.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think Frankenfield has anything for Peter Short here with 9.5 minutes to go. It's going to take a miracle. Oh, huge crash. Peter Short. There it goes.
No.
And just like that, Peter Short goes from leading to second, and he's going to have huge damage to the front wing. And is that the 64 car?
I think that is. I think that's Chad Brown. 11th.
So Peter Short, I just mentioned it would take a miracle for the 15, but just like that.
Oh, man, you really need to stop talking. Oh, no, that was a 5 of Sam Close.
The 5 of Sam Close down. Oh, what was Close doing?
Yeah, damn.
Oh, man.
And Short almost saved it there, but was trying to get it back going and then just tap the wall. He's got damage to his wing, and that's going to be not race over for the 22, but his chances of getting the win here thrown out the window.
Yeah, this is frustrating here, Finney, because, it was a late move there for the 22 for sure, but you got to be paying attention to the blue flags, Finney, and the leader's got the priority there when it comes to that incident.
Yeah, especially when you take that wide of a line, you kind of invite. I'm definitely sure Peter Short took that as the 5 of Short letting him by. Sorry, the 5 of Close letting him by. There you see wide. Yeah. That typically means letting him by, and then Close came in on entry. You see Short trying to save it.
Almost hit the drain, and that's what spun him around. And that's where got him the damage. But that's such a disaster for Peter Short. Had that win in hand, was driving away with it.
I was going to say the tables would have turned in the championship. They would have been tied going into the next round. But this is gonna end up being win number 2 here for Frankenfield, unless something were to happen.
Well,
and I mean, it could
another
have.
lap car takes him out.
Yeah,
missile strikes him. Meteor shower.
Yeah, but
lightning strike.
Frankenfield would have to run at least a 127, if anything. And again, Peter Shore has some damage to his car, so he can't really be pushed. And you can see that he's really struggling on the pace now, losing time.
Yeah, that car is not going to be competitive with that wing damage. That is such a shame. Has been the quickest car of the whole race. Messed up one time trying to chase down Frankenfield earlier. Got back an 8-second lead. Did an overcut. Passed the 15 car in the pit stop sequence. Comes back out a couple laps later. Dives to the inside of a lap car. And the lap car turned in on him. And has destroyed the race for that number 22 team.
Yeah, so points-wise, looking into next round, the winner gets 58 points. Second place gets 52. So that's going to be another 6 points deficit to Peter Shorts. It's going to be 12 behind Frankenfield as they head into Indianapolis next week, which is a double points round.
Well, that's the only thing that could save the 22, unless the 15 car crashes next week. The 22 is going to need those double points if he wants to have any shot at winning this Triple Crown here, Finian, which is so frustrating considering he had the best car here tonight, and it was a little bit out of his control there. Again, he had the ability to back out of that and say, no, I can wait a second, but with the gap that big and the blue flag waving for the 5 car, I can't really pin it on Peter Short. Here he goes again. You see the 97 bailing out of the way that time. Similar situation. Sam Close is now pulled off the racetrack. Only 1 through 10 continuing to run here with 6 minutes left in the race. Now, there will be some devil's advocates here, Finian, that say corner rights, even for lap cars. But as we saw in the Formula 1 round at Interlagos a few weeks ago, corner rights aren't really much of a thing if you got a lap down, especially, at least in the FIA's eyes.
Yeah, and it falls series to series, really. It's up to the admins to decide, what's going to happen there. I don't think really anything's going to happen.
No, I don't think there'll be any action, but
so
I'm just speculatory.
Generally what you give, and you see Kevin Jadrich trying to recover from his position, but yeah, typically, again, it was a tough situation. It's actually Zelensky who was involved in that as well.
Yeah, keep talking. We'll watch. Zelensky got loose and slammed the wall on corner exit. But FIA and series-specific rules, so you mentioned it.
Yeah, so like the FIA, so you're saying there isn't really anyone's right to the corner. However, especially lap down cars in an open wheel setting, typically you let the leaders on by. You don't really put up much of a fight, and especially typically taking the non-racing line is the signal for the leader to go on by.
Right, and there's a lot of people that will say, well, hey, you got to have X amount of the car alongside, but a lot of leagues don't play by that rule, especially one that focuses mostly on stock cars. Generally, the rule is if you're there, you're there, and it doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile or the whole body of the car. If you got a nose in, you're in. That's how I usually typically race. Yeah. If there's someone to my inside, I don't turn in on them expecting them not to be there. I give them room to race even if it's a late move. So Peter Short in the number 22 and the 5 of Sam Close coming together with about 10 minutes left in the race, giving the advantage back to the 15 of Frankenfield. Peter Short has managed to hang on to his 9.1 second deficit, but he's not going to get it back.
No, and I can imagine that's only just Frankenfield slowing down to manage that gap, as he really doesn't need to force the effort here in these closing stages.
Under 4 minutes left to go. It'll be about 4 laps to go now, with about 1 minute and 25 second lap times for the 15 of Frankenfield. Zelensky on pit lane. That'll probably be a retirement for that 97. He's probably used up the amount of wings they've got there, so that 97 car going to be off course.
Yeah, a lot of high attrition rate here as well. We only have about 8 cars running on the track, and only 6 of them are on the lead lap. Last one being, 4 of them on the lead lap. Last one being Nathan Velez.
There's a battle that's beginning to close up just a little bit. Teal and Velez. This has been raging for most of the race, and it almost got close before Velez nearly binned it coming out of the toe of the boot, but has now got the difference between him and Teal down to 2.5 seconds and closing now. So he's got 3.5 minutes left to get there.
It's going to be a pretty tall order, but definitely within the realm of possibility here.
Let's see if 64 Chad Brown makes this easy. It looks like he will, but if it's going to put the 48 offline, he'll lose a bunch of time going up the S's.
Yeah, losing ground to Jordan Teal now, almost 3 seconds behind is Nathan Velez.
Down into the carousel now for the 39th time as Chad Frankenfield heads down into turn 1 with a 10-second lead. Now with 3 laps to go, 2 minutes 44 seconds remaining, and the 3 laps is an estimate, so when we come back around next lap, we should have a better idea of what the white flag situation is.
Yeah, I think it should be about... white flag next time by.
Caution out on the racetrack here, Finian.
Yeah, not sure about... Yeah, I'm not sure why that happened.
But caution has flown, and it's an admin thrown yellow, so I presume unless we haven't been filled in on exactly the procedure at the end of this race. But that would essentially hand the win to Frankenfield in the number 15 car.
Yeah, it should indeed.
We'll be right back. We're going to get a clarification. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
No, that's me being dumb, hitting the wrong button. So, I think we're good, though.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that clears things up.
Yeah,
admin hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was almost like what happened in Bristol when with the rain and the whole fiasco. So,
Well, I can't. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
But I don't. It didn't change the results at all. I think Frankenfield would have easily won that race. So we'll pick up the white flag here on the last lap, and Frankenfield will also collect the pace car. But Chad Frankenfield was fast. I don't think he was the fastest car out there. Had a little bit of fortune head his way with the contact between the 22 and the 5. But we'll complete this race under yellow.
Yeah, and again, fantastic job all day by the 15 of Frankenfield. I mean, and definitely, I would say the 22, though short, deserved it. Not to take anything away from the 15, but if 22 had a faster car, just something took him out. But Frankenfield is the lucky one today. He's going to take home the win.
And again, double points next week at Indianapolis. It'll be our final round of the 3WideRacing League Triple Crown for IndyCar, and I think Peter Short will be looking at that race, circle it, and go out there and just try to win it. The problem is I would definitely say Indy is much more of a crapshoot, to say the least, than Watkins Glen is. So that's going to put Peter Short at a disadvantage over a track he's good at like Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a slight correction to what I was saying earlier about the points. There are halfway points, so that also, and some other bonus points. These guys are given points linearly like NASCAR does. There's no difference between the points, so 1 point for each position going down. So it all comes down really to the bonus points, so I think that's where Peter Short's going to probably look his eyes to as he's going to try to fight Frankenfield.
Field heads down into the boot for the final time behind the pace car. And they'll come around and collect the checkered flag. Now, if only they were close, if they had done this a couple minutes sooner and they had a restart, that would have been an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, definitely so. But unfortunately, it's gonna be too late for that question. We'll only hit the keyboard, hit that button earlier.
Yeah. Also, the pace car doesn't pace very fast around the boot version of the track. It goes about 70 on the Cup version. I can hardly keep up with it.
I know if we had the Mercedes pace car,
oh boy,
the safety car just hauling,
be lapping faster than these things would. Other notables, top 3 for Jordan Teal in number 33. It's good to see him with a nice solid finish, and also teammates with that number 22 car. Eyes and designs on both of those machines.
Yeah, and Nathan Velez coming home in 4th, and Jadricic, up and down day, is going to finish in 5th place, 1 lap down.
Mike Stevens, solid top 10 finish in 6th. Tanner Sharp in 7th. Chad Brown 8th. Levi Zielinski 9th. Tate Lytle 10th. But as they come now through turn 10 and turn 11, the pace car is going to stay on the track for an additional cool-down lap, but that Miller Lite number 15 is going to visit victory lane for the 2nd time here in the 3WideRacing League Triple Crown for IndyCar. Through turn 11, he'll collect the 2nd race victory, and he'll get to do burnouts in upstate New York here at Watkins Glen.
There you see across the line, and it's official. Chad Frankenfield, 2 wins here. Will he be able to go for the sweep, the hat trick next week at Indy? That's still up in the air.
That would be pretty awesome if he could do that, but Peter Short, the number 22, is going to come home in second.
He's going to come home with a bent wing and broken dreams.
Yeah. We're going to go to break real quick. We're going to come back and catch the 15's burnouts if he does them. He did them last week, so I expected more of the same this week. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Back live here at Watkins Glen International, looking at race winner Chad Frankenfield. He's completed the caution laps behind the pace car, has collected the checkered flag, will come across the start-finish line, and hopefully do burnouts. Now, if he knows how to do this, he'll go down to turn 1 and do them.
Yeah, I think that's where he's heading.
Yeah, that's the right way to win Watkins Glen. Yes, Chad, down into turn 1, into the runoff skid pad, and he'll do burnouts again for the second week in a row. Chad Frankenfield victorious at Watkins Glen. And here is your race results. Frankenfield short. Jordan Teal, Nathan Velez, Kevin Giadersic, your top 5. We're going to talk to Frankenfield short, Teal, and Giadersic in just a moment. And we'll be back in just a second. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Upstate New York region, Watkins Glen International. We're talking now with the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. Chad, it looked like it slipped away from you in the late stages there, but you managed to steal one away as Short got caught up in some lap traffic. Walk us through those final moments of that race.
Yeah, I felt like if I could run some flyers, I could keep up with his pace. But ultimately, I mean, the Watkins Glen is such a crazy track because if you make a mistake, you're probably going to wreck your car. So I felt like I was just going to play it safe, and I knew lap traffic was tough because just not a lot of places to hit lap traffic other than the backstretch. So I basically conceded the fact that if he was going to get me, he was going to get me, and I'm going to wait it out, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, we saw a lot of drivers really struggling with the exit of the boot back onto the NASCAR course. Did you feel like that was the trickiest part, or was it some other part of the track that was a little bit more scary for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, it was turn 1. When you come off of 1 up on the curbing there's a little bit of an elevated spot, so your car gets real light. So right there, I was my worry part. Coming out of the boot, I mean, you kind of just coast it and feather it. And once you get the car pointed straight, you hit the throttle. But for me, it really was exit 1 for the most part tonight.
All right, Chad. Well, certainly it's been a good first couple rounds for you. We wish you the best next week at Indianapolis, and hopefully you can take home that trophy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys doing this, and this win is just huge. I've been coming to Watkins Glen for over 20 years, and my mom passed away from cancer in 2005, and she started our tradition of going here, and it's really been a dream of mine to win a iRacing race here. So just to be able to do that is really satisfying. So again, just thank you guys for broadcasting.
Yeah, no problem, Chad. Again, this is one of our favorite racetracks, our home track. I took Finney in there for the first time over the summer, and it's a special place in my heart as well. So always cool seeing someone else as amped as I am to come here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, have a good night, Chad.
You too.
Next, we'll be talking to the driver of the number 22, Peter Short. And Peter, I know you got to be a little bit disappointed because you had the fastest car out there. You were killing it on the lap times. You made one mistake that got you back on Frankenfield, but you made it all back up, and then it was all tossed away with about 10 minutes left. Walk us through that overcut and then the ultimate contact there with the 5 of Sam Close.
Yeah, there was a point early in the race where I was following Chad really closely, and I don't know if I just missed my brake marker or he braked early or whatever, but I had to really get on the binders and it locked up the rear, spun me around. I was 10 seconds back and just got my head down. And, when I was stuck behind Chad early on the race, there was a lot of aero wash, so I felt like I couldn't quite get everything out of the car. And then I was able to work my way up, just running fairly consistent lap times, and got to the point where I was about 2.5 seconds back there for that final pit stop. And I noticed that he was pitting about a lap sooner than I was, and for me anyway, the car was much faster at the end of a run. So I felt like if I could just keep that momentum up, I would have a good shot to possibly do the overcut. Had a fantastic pit stop, got out ahead, and was kind of just running as fast as I could. Had some close calls with some lap traffic while I was lapping him, and I was the leader. And then came up on Sam, and Sam, I guess he had a little bit of damage on his car, and he swung out really wide. And I thought, oh well, he's just gonna roll over and let me by here. I guess he was getting those blue flags. Honestly, blue flags. But he started to come down. At that point, I was committed. We made a little bit of contact. I almost got it straightened out. Couldn't quite get it straightened out. I hit a bump, sent me sideways, and the rest was history. We had a little bit of left front damage. Was still turning pretty decent lap times, even with that left front damage there at the end. But definitely disappointing. I had a similar thing happen to me in the Cup race that we had earlier this year in 3-wide. Actually going into the bus stop. And so I was like, all right, we're not running the bus stop tonight, so that's good. So I don't know, maybe I'm cursed here because last year I threw a race away at the Glen on the final lap by wheel hopping into turn 1. So I've had 3 near wins at the Glen and not able to pull one off. So maybe I'm just cursed here. But we look towards Indy next week. Still have a shot at the championship. Chad's got a good grasp on it right now, but anything can happen at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's double points, so just got to go out there and do as good as we can in the 250.
All right, Peter, thanks for talking to us. Good luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. Next, we'll talk to third place Jordan Teal. Jordan, a great race for you. Come home podium here this week at Watkins Glen, although you had to fight off a hard-charging Nathan Velez for a lot of the race. Walk us through that event for you. It was a good one for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Managed to get through relatively unscathed without any contact from anyone. Tate really had third in the bag. I'm not really sure what happened, but he disappeared on me somewhere. And
he
then
parked it in the
and
fence
Nathan,
in turn 11, in case you're wondering.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the transition out of the bus stop?
That is the final corner underneath the sprint bridge.
Final corner.
Yep.
Okay. Man, I had trouble in the transition back from the bus stop. It's the second to last corner, I think. And I had it figured out in practice, and in the race, I was just all over the place. But yeah, me and Nathan had some fun battles going on. I went ahead and pitted early at the end to try to stay in front of him because I felt like I was struggling on old tires. And then honestly, the caution at the end made me breathe deep because he was definitely charging at me.
Yeah, I will let you know that you were not the only driver struggling with the transition back to the Cup course. That was probably the majority of incidents happened over there today. But certainly a good, solid top 3 finish for you, and good luck next week at Indianapolis.
Thanks. And yeah, it's my first podium on a road course. I'm pretty happy about that.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad we could broadcast it for you. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, y'all do a good job. Thank you for doing that.
No problem. All right, we'll next talk to the 5th place driver, Kevin Giadricic. Kevin wasn't without some battles today. There was a lot of action around you in that number 42 car, but you ultimately pulled out top 5. Walk us through your night.
Oh man, it was a rough night. I went into the race knowing that there was going to be a lot of wrecks, and so I decided not to qualify. Just let the wrecks, kind of fix the field for me. And the strategy worked out. I made it up to 5th, but it was definitely a rough night. I spun 3 different times, and somehow managed, to finish with that 5th place finish.
Well, we saw a lot of drivers wiping out on the transition from the boot back to the Cup course. So that seemed to be a struggle spot. But what was your Achilles heel tonight? What corner do you think was the trickiest for you?
Oh, that same spot. Yeah, for sure. I practiced a few times during the week, and there's no telling how many times I spun right there in that corner.
Certainly a tricky track indeed. But next week we look forward to Indianapolis. What do you have for the field next week?
Man, Indy's a tough track. Racing the Indy cars, the biggest thing I need to practice on, and I think everybody does, is that draft. Once you get in that draft, if you don't let off the gas going into the corner a good bit, it's just going to throw you to the wall. So I think next week's going to be a similar strategy. Just let the wrecks kind of fix themselves.
All right, Kevin. Well, nice and glad to talk to you for once. It's been a while since we've talked to you here on Sim TV, but a nice solid top 5 finish for you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it, guys.
Have a good night. All right, Phineas, we watched the pace car making some lonely laps out there at Watkins Glen. What a race that was. Peter Short, Frankenfield trading the lead a couple times, but heartbreak for the 22. Had it in the bag and lost it with a few laps to go.
Yeah, I can imagine he's going to be thinking about what could have been. He could have been pretty much tied with Frankenfield going into Indianapolis, but now he's got a bit of a deficit to work up. So he's going to be about 10 to 12 points behind, depending on where he got bonus points here and there. So he's got a deficit to make up, but again, double points, so anything's on play here.
All right, that'll be it for us for tonight. Tomorrow, it's new build day here at iRacing.com, and that means day-to-night transitions. We'll be exploring that tomorrow in the Fuel Rig Share Cup Series from Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're going to be doing a sunset-timed race, so be with us tomorrow at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And then Wednesday night, we're going to be back with the Virtual Mars Racing Series, and that'll be right here at Watkins Glen International. That'll be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Another probably morning race from what I'm hearing, Finian. So that'll be a fun one indeed. And then Thursday, more Fuel IndyCar action. Friday, Hardline. Then Saturday, VRL. That's what's coming up, and we'll see you tomorrow night.